Egypt. And they met with the purpose of creating a meeting that would continue the resistance, to continue the persecution of areas of resistance against Serapis. Okay, so even we see that this was a continual fact to try to get rid of this particular mentality through or inspired through Arius and other individuals as well. Most important that we see when we look at the Council of Ephesus, which covered at the years of 431 after Common Era, which was 50 years after the Council of Constantinople, is that we see that in 341, Serapis transformed and his name was changed into Messias K. Kritos. Okay. So in the historical origin of Christianity, he's showing how Serapis, through particular councils, became, and his name was changed into the Messias Kritos. Okay. And this name was given by the Coptic Egyptians at the time. Now, someone might pose the question, well, why did they decide to do this? Why did they have to change the name? We come to find out that this whole particular time, these councils was meant to gather individuals together. So what they did was they changed the name so that, the Coptic priests and the bishops and the clergymen at that particular time would agree wholesomely on it. Okay. So this possibly, I'll associate that later. So this is what happens at the Council of Ephesus. All right. Now,
okay, and then quick question for you to insert it. So you said that they changed the name so that
it would be accepted, more widely accepted, you see.
So does Walter Williams make that claim why they did it? Because a historical account wouldn't necessarily be about motives and why people did certain things. It would show you this was done and this was done and this is the other, this was done. So how does he know that was the reason behind?
That's the reason why they were meeting for the first place. That's why they had, because Constantinople at this particular time, he thoroughly understood that in order to rule a government, you had to have control of the people. We, even in our particular government, we give the government certain power to rule over us. Now, if we're doing our own thing, there's really no structure. So what Constantine did was instead of having all these different particular entities doing their own religious thing, what he did was he helped to inspire and gather organize these councils so that they could, blend and turn certain things and make certain things inclusive. Now, this is when we see about how the cross, which initially was a pagan symbol, we see it now associated to a Christian symbol. So this is to show you, this is another example of why they were doing that, you see, taking other particular things so that it would be more inclusively accepted by the people at the time, so everything would apply to everyone of different point of view. So, for example, if we would do that today with the denominations, with the Baptists and the Pentecostal and the Methodists, what they did then was to gather all these philosophies and make it that this is what we're doing, so that everybody would be happy and satisfied. Okay. So at this particular time of the construction of the first monophysite church, like I said before, it was in Constantinople, Turkey. And it was to fulfill the dream of Constantine. Who was trying to fulfill this dream was Justinian and his wife Theodora. And however, the Greeks and the Romans continued to worship the icon Kritos, Christ, as their god. Okay, and then the name changed again to IEZV. I spelled it out because I didn't know how to pronounce it. I think you pronounce that as Izuvi. It says pronounced as Zeus. So they changed the name again from Zeus, which was the Greek god, and then from Zeus the Romans came in, and Zeus became Jupiter for the Romans. Now they're given the same attributes, nothing in the characteristics changed, just the name here. So the name Zeus was first applied to the icon Christ during the first and Ecumenical Council of Lyons. So we had the Council of Lyons in the year of 1245. Okay. So at this point, So, as we see at this particular point, we have these Christian fathers under the leadership of an individual. His name was Innocent the Sixth, and borrowing from the name of Zeus, came up with the first given name Ezus. Like I was saying at the Council of Loins, and Ezus is spelled Iesus. So Ezus. So Ezus came into from the Christ icon, thereby calling this icon Ezus the Christ. So this is what they refer to it at this particular time in 1245. They would go Ezus the Christ. All right. Now, it wasn't until 1240 that we see that the term Jesus more so came into it. No, excuse me. That it was at this particular time, 1240, that the J was not in this particular alphabet. Okay, so what happens is we see a transformation from Iesus to Jesus. Okay, and this was also attributed to the Kratos, or the Christ icon. All right, so when we look at the etymology of the which is the history of words, we see that I later becomes Z, and that the letter Z originally had a strong resemblance to the symbol that was recognized today in the uppercase I. So you can, so what we see is Ezus to Zeus, okay, which is a phononic Greek and pre-Renaissance spelling of the name Jesus. So if we would translate it, Jesus would be Eus and also be Zeus, okay, historically. So as the I functioned as a vowel and a consonant J prior to 1630. So that's why you would say recent with the J, because it wasn't until 1630 that the J became functional as a consonant.
And that's just with language differences.
Absolutely. And so in 1630, the Europeans took the letter I and created a new letter in the Latin English alphabet, and that was J. Okay. So, as we were discussing, we just see a transformation, a chronological transformation from the letter I to Z, and from Z to J. No, from Z to from Z to J. So J came in 1630 through the Latin English alphabet. Now, prior to this time of 1630, there was no J. And
So
Walter Williams goes so far as says there's no G. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what you were just about to get into. You can continue.
Yeah, and that's what he is implying. So, this would, in a sense, he's trying to attempt to contradict and say that how can this term Jesus be the Savior be the only word you have to say when J was not at this particular time during the life of Jesus Christ, or even long for, even those years after his particular death, but only came into in 1630. So people would be like, that's the only thing you need. But it was just like, well, hold on. Let's not insinuate that J has been here during that particular time. Let's definitely let people know that this has a chronological order. This is what it became. So what we see is that one should note that in the Romance language, when we look at Spanish, the enunciation of the name Jesus is Jesus. And we see that Zeus was that great god. And, so we have Jesus and Zeus. So now he goes on to state about Martin Luther, stating that, Martin Luther was motivated to help start the Protestant movement. So we understand that everything outside of the Catholic denomination is a Protestant denomination. Okay, and initially he helped inspire the Protestant movement against the Roman Catholic Church in 1517. Okay, so in 1517 he began to orchestrate Protestant churches or Protestant Christians in 1535. Okay, so this is at this particular time around the 1530s that we see the printing of the Old Testament Bible, and it was printed in a sense of mass printing. Okay, prior to that we had more of a handwritten thing that was going on. It wasn't a mass printing
So
that
the
we
Old
see.
Testament was written before this time, but just mass produced in 1530. You said it was.
Well, okay, what he says is that it was first printed at this particular time
So
in 1475.
okay.
So he says it was first printed at the year of 1475, and Martin Luther began to preach to the Protestant Christians